Well, okay.
Welcome, everyone. I will call the February 3rd, 2021 Commissioners Meeting to order. Today, we're joined by our veteran, Scott Castle, Director of Facilities, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And we are joined by our distinguished friend and colleague, Dr. Larry Walthauer, who will lead us in the invocation.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we pray. Eternal God, our Father, we thank you this morning for life, health, and strength. We give you glory for your presence. We pray for your divine wisdom in this commission chamber. We ask, oh God, that you would give our leadership uncommon favor and uncommon wisdom to make decisions for the interests of the residents of this county that would impact this commonwealth and this country. Thank you for those under the sound of my voice. We thank you for your divine protection throughout this storm and that we're able to live and to make it on the other side. It is a paradigm of life that with you all things are possible. Give us your grace, your presence. It is in thy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda, items A through C, as listed below. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5.
I'll make a motion to approve a grant agreement between the County of York on behalf of the Juvenile Probation Department and Juvenile Court Judges Commission, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, for a total grant amount of $532,650 for the annual grant and aid application to the Juvenile Court Judges Commission to offset probation officer salaries and to assist with the implementation of the Juvenile Justice Systems Enhancement Strategy for the period of July 1st, 2020 through June 30, 2021. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6.
Make a motion to approve the submission of a grant application on behalf of the Office of Emergency Management to the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, to provide financial assistance for the Hazardous Material Response Team through the local Emergency Planning Committee for emergency response equipment and training needs for the period of July 1st, 2021 to June 30, 2022. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7.
I'll make a motion to approve a contract agreement between the County of York on behalf of the York County Prison and the PA District Attorneys Institute, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, to provide statewide automated victim information and notification services at no cost for the period of January 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2021. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8.
I'll make a motion to approve a contract agreement between the County of York on behalf of the Human Resources Department and Murray Insurance Associates of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, to provide workers' compensation, self-insurance claims administration, and risk management services for a total cost of $54,075 for the period of January 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2021. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9.
I'll make a motion to ratify a contract agreement between the County of York on behalf of the York County Prison and BFPE International, York, Pennsylvania, to provide testing and inspection of the fire protection systems and equipment for a total cost of $25,750 for the period of January 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2021. Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 10.
I make a motion to approve a reimbursement agreement between the County of York and the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, for the reimbursement of construction costs related to Bridge Number 226 Hall Drive over Bermudian Creek in Washington Township in the amount of $66,418.78. The cost is funded 100% by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11.
I'll make a motion to ratify a contractor right of entry license agreement between the County of York and the York Railway Company for the installation of handholds and fiber optic cable in the conduit located under the Heritage Rail Trail. The work is being performed as part of the Heritage Rail Trail Middle Mile Fiber Network.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I know Silas is here to give an update later. I didn't know, is there any comments you or Mark want to make on this item?
I mean, Mark, maybe we've talked about this now, about this one section of the rail trail, maybe.
Right. This
Where
is,
we at?
This is the agreement that will allow us to install the fiber and the handholds in the section from Kings Mill Road to Indian Rock Dam Road so that we can complete the middle mile network.
Good.
And that'll be confirmed once they sign the agreement, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All right. Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 12.
I make a motion to authorize the solicitation of bids for the York Airport reconstruction and paving of the hangar area apron pending final approval by the Bureau of Aviation, Pennsylvania Department of Transportation.
Second.
Motion and a second. I know Felicia's here. Did you want to share any comments on this item?
I think we've talked about this for a couple of years.
Okay, all right.
No, I mean, where are we at as far as, I know we've talked about it for,
The waist down. Good morning. This is an ongoing relationship
Hey.
that we have with the York Airport. And this is the first grant that's going through under this Board of Commissioners. So just to give a little bit of background, the York Airport is a privately owned airport, but it's available for public use. And so they can receive public grant dollars to make improvements at the airport, but they have to have a public entity sponsor them. And so the York County Board of Commissioners has been gracious enough to step into that sponsorship role. The first project that was completed was repaving the total runway. And now these are some of the areas that connect to the runway. The hangar apron area is just kind of like the parking lot area when the planes come off the runway where they go before they get into the hangar, and that needs to be reconstructed. So this is kind of a continuation, but it's under your watch. And as the sponsor, we do have a separate agreement with the York Airport between the York County Board of Commissioners or York County and the airport. And just to make you all feel comfortable, there is an indemnification clause in that, so the airport carries a lot of the burden for any kind of things that go wrong with the grant.
right, who actually facilitates the bid solicitation and opening? Is that your,
The county purchasing department.
Okay, so we do
we'll be
that.
working with
Okay.
Tina Blessing on that.
okay.
Okay. All right, great, thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 13.
Motion to approve change order 02-G with Keller Contracting LLC of York, PA for the Coroner's Office morgue project to install moisture treatment between the concrete slab and the epoxy terrazzo flooring as recommended by the architect and manufacturer at an increase of $1,601.49, increasing the total contract to $703,221.12.
I'll second the motion.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
John, yes, Julie.
Yeah.
John, can you explain that? Because is that something that got, excuse me, that got missed or what?
No, this is actually a quality control issue. The specifications clearly called out to the contractor that before they put the terrazzo floor down, they checked the moisture in the concrete. They checked the moisture in the concrete. It was above the acceptable limit. So in accordance with the manufacturer's requirements, we had to put moisture treatment in. So it's not a miss. It's actually a good catch.
Okay.
It just costs more money.
Still within the confines of the budget and what's.
Yeah, we're still
allocated?
within the budget parameters, and the next two are also on the agenda, so I'll just stay up here for a little bit.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item number 14.
Motion to approve change order 01-H Fry Lutz Corporation, Lancaster, PA, for the Coroner's Office morgue project to reallocate bid item units to complete work for the conference/viewing room. There is no cost for this change order.
I'll second the motion.
A motion and a second. Back to John.
And again, this is one of those ones where we're just reallocating costs within the contract, but we can't do that. Only the commissioners can do that, so we're bringing it to you.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item number 15.
Motion to approve a revised change order 02-P with SSM Incorporated, New Cumberland, PA, for the Coroner's Office morgue project to correct the amount of the cost increase to relocate the gas service from the approved amount of $250.01 to the actual amount of $467.01, increasing the contract price to $240,901.31.
I'll second the motion.
A motion and a second.
And again, it sounds pretty de minimis. It's only a couple $100, but we wanted to correct it to the actual dollar amount. I think if you recall, it came to you as like $1,400. On the fly, we changed it to $250, and it actually ended up being $400. So again, we're still within the cost budget for the project.
Great.
And I know you've updated this before, but just since we have these three items and stuff, is the project still on schedule and we're looking for opening fairly soon?
Yeah, we're hopefully in the last month of construction. The floor that we just talked about should be being put down this week. We have a job conference next Tuesday morning, and I'm hoping to find out the actual date of completion by the contractor. So we're within 30 days of being done.
Great.
Yeah.
Pretty happy. The contractors have been excellent to work with, as has the prison staff. So it's been a good project.
Good.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item number 16.
Motion to approve the reappointment of David Glenn as board member to the Maryland and Pennsylvania Railroad Preservation Authority for a 5-year term effective January 1st, 2021 through 2025.
I'll second the motion.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And David, if you're watching, congratulations. Item number 17.
Motion to approve the reappointment of Sharon Hagenberger to the South Central Workforce Development Board for a 3-year term effective February 1st, 2021 through January 31st, 2021.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye, but I think that's a correction for the date. So February 1st, 2021 was a couple days ago. Is that going to be effective so it's going to be effective till January 31st of 2022? Because we're well past.
Yeah, that's a good catch. I didn't read that, see that.
Ah,
Okay, so as amended.
As amended.
As amended.
I'll
All those
second
in
it.
favor, second.
Aye.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks for the catch.
Yep.
And congratulations, Sharon. Item number 18.
Motion to approve a purchase between the County of York on behalf of Fleet Management and Whitmore Auto Group, Elizabethtown, PA, for one 2020 Chevy Traverse for use by the York County District Attorney's Detectives Division for a total cost of $34,197.12 under a PA CoStarz contract.
I'll second the motion.
A motion and a second. It looks like Mr. Durr has,
No, not for this one.
not for this one. Okay, all right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
If I may, motion 17 should have been through January 31st, 2024. It's a
2024.
It's a three-year term.
Yeah, second wise, like, good catch.
Michelle, do we need to revote on that motion?
Correction in the minutes.
Okay, fair enough. Okay,
Sorry about that.
That's a good catch, Mark.
all right. Item number 19.
Let's see if we can get this one right.
Yeah.
Motion to approve the check register for the week of January 27th, 2021 totaling $12,742,364.07.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second.
And Marcus, a little high, what was the
York, it includes about $8.1 million in York Adams Health Choices joinder money,
Okay.
or capitation fees, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. No executive session since our last meeting. And I know we have our friend Silas Chamberlain joining us today to give an update on broadband.
Try to shuffle this back just a little bit. All right. Thanks, Commissioners, for having me before you again. I know we've talked a lot about broadband in 2020 and now 2021. This is really an overview of where we've been this past year, what we completed under CARES Act funding, and the results of the community-wide assessment that Lit Communities completed for us, and really how it positions us to move forward in the future. So just to remind you of the context, the YOCO Recovery Strong Task Force identified investing in broadband as one of its key recommendations coming out of the COVID pandemic. In early August, you approved some funding to create this countywide assessment. And then in mid-October, you approved additional funding to work on a pilot project, which of course is a project that's been running under the Heritage Rail Trail. Throughout this process, we've worked with Catapult Engineering, which is based in Dillsburg. They are fiber optic and utility engineers that are work statewide, even regionally, but are based in Dillsburg. And then Lit Communities, which is based in Alabama, but has staff throughout the country, specializing in helping counties and regions and cities create broadband networks. So the pilot project that we've all come to know well begins near York College in the city of York, travels along the Heritage Rail Trail roughly 16 miles to the Maryland border, New Freedom. As you know, the project has been to pull fiber through the existing conduit underneath the trail, install handholds, which are really vaults where future connections, lateral connections can be made off of that backbone, and then a wireless antenna that's been installed at Hanover Junction, which is really intended to provide temporary wireless coverage until there's permanent installations and to satisfy the CARES Act, which said you have to show that this line is functional as part of the project. So we picked that corridor because it was owned by the county, and we had to move very quickly. We couldn't really spend a lot of time acquiring property. The conduit was already underneath the corridor, which made it incredibly easy to pull the fiber. And we've had rough estimates that having that conduit already buried under there might have saved the county $3 or $4 million over the long run. So kudos once again to those who 20 years ago had the foresight to install empty conduit and that extra capacity under the Heritage Rail Trail. It also provides access to part of the county that's currently underserved, and obviously provides the potential to create laterals off of it into other parts of the county as time goes on. So at the end of this project, we have a high-speed backbone down the Heritage Rail Trail. It creates opportunities for future phases, and as you'll see in a moment, this is sort of a critical part of future rings of fiber that the county could support creating. It also creates the opportunity to lease even the fiber that's there now, and I'll show you in a moment the projections that we've also put up for you previously. And this is just a centrally located backbone in that it passes within a mile of 2,400 businesses, and that represents nearly a quarter of all the businesses in York County. So a very good pilot project in that it's centrally located, has a lot of future potential. So the initial bids that we got back were for $1.2 million. You approved up to $1.5 million to complete this project. You can see a mix of construction, materials, and engineering. And we also projected for you the operating budget. In terms of operating, there's not a lot of maintenance that goes into a buried conduit, especially one that's part of a park property where there isn't a lot of other work going on. Really, the cost of maintaining this fiber is providing the fiber service itself. That's a contract that you signed with Shentel a couple months ago to be able to light this fiber when it becomes active. And then we projected the estimated revenue, and this is the most passive form of leasing fiber, dark fiber, where you're simply allowing people to make lateral connections into it. And when it's built out, you would be able to lease it for approximately $40,000. The reason we put this together is show that it's not a drain on resources for the county. There's actually the opportunity to derive revenue. And obviously, this is talking about a very small section of hopefully what's a large future network. So the countywide assessment itself really takes all the data that's been collected by LIT and Catapult during their time working on the project and lays out really a business plan for how you would create a future network. It does preliminary design of a countywide middle mile network that I'll show you in just a moment. That's really sort of the highway system for fiber in the county, the big trunk rings, and then the fiber to the home, or the FTTH or the FTTP, is really all the things coming off of that backbone that go to homes and businesses. So this includes preliminary design for all of that. It also relies on pretty sophisticated software analysis to do the engineering of that preliminary design, but also a lot of field work. And Catapult's expertise is in looking at utility poles, determining if they can, if they're useful for doing aerial connections for fiber. They looked at 107,000 poles across York County. And so in the detailed projections, which I won't put up in front of you today because it looks like lots and lots of spreadsheets, they go into detail about how they chose the portion of the fiber network that could conceivably be aerial versus underground, and that's all based on real field work that they did. It also includes financial models, looking at the construction costs, engineering costs, O&M costs, but also different operational scenarios so that the county will have the ability to choose in the future. Do you want a more passive approach to leasing the fiber? Do you want an active approach? And the actual numbers that would go along with potential costs of that and potential revenue from that. The final part of the county assessment was a grant services piece where our consultants looked at all the state funding and federal funding that's currently available. Also made some projections for us about what they foresee coming out of stimulus bills in the future and how we can position ourselves to apply for some of that public funding now. So probably the most important image coming out of the countywide assessment is this one. This is the preliminary design for the middle mile network. It's 7 rings covering the entire county. Each ring here represents approximately 50,000 demand points. You can see that means the rings in more rural areas are a little bit larger. In the urban areas, they're a little bit smaller. The whole point here is that LIT took all of the priority institutions in the county, so all the school districts, all the EMS facilities, industrial clusters, plotted them all out, and then tried to design a middle mile that would link as many of those priority institutions as possible. They also took into consideration what we've been hearing from school districts and others who have experienced lack of access. So you notice ring 4 is Red Line Area School District, ring 5 is Southeastern School District. Those are areas where we know from talking to the superintendent and the information technology staff that they have great needs. They're working on some local solutions, but we took into consideration their feedback in designing this. So this provides the backbone, and then the idea is that by creating this backbone, you're creating a platform that allows you to entice private investment into these areas where the upfront cost of installing these rings would be prohibitive. So the idea is that there's not coverage right now, or sufficient coverage in rings 4, 5, 6, 1, and by building this backbone, you can entice that private investment. So the assessment also makes recommendations about where to go in the future, and it talks about some things that we can do in the short term and then some longer term goals. The first one that they recommend is to create a county task force to oversee the implementation of this plan and to be able to advise the county on where they go from here, which tracks that they would want to pursue, help identify and support grant funding for the projects, and in general, bring together a group of people who have expertise to advise. They also recommend doing a demand aggregation survey. This is something that you would typically do as part of a county assessment, but it takes 5 to 6 months to complete it because it's a public survey. And doing the aggregation survey under CARES Act just was time prohibitive. So they're recommending doing that. We've gotten quotes for that. It's a little under $20,000 to complete. There's companies that specialize in this, and this gathers data on current connection speeds throughout the county, the price points that people are currently paying, the areas where there's lack of access. And this is really important data because right now when you pull up the federal data on broadband in York County, it shows that we have coverage countywide. We know that's not the case, and so when we're applying for federal funds to expand broadband, we need to be able to augment those FCC maps and say, yes, that's what this FCC map says, but we conducted this survey. We know that there's lack of access here. We know people are overpaying here. We know they can't get certain services in this area, and be able to make our best case statement about the need for broadband. They also propose, of course, advancing the grant services piece of their assessment and pursuing those funds. And they propose prioritizing construction of rings 5, 6, and 4. Just to go back for a second, I know it's probably tough to see from over there. Ring 6 is really west of Interstate 83, the area out towards Hanover. Ring 4, as I said, Red Lion Area School District, roughly. Ring 6, Delta, the southern part of the Brogue, the Southeastern School District. And the important part about the Heritage Rail Trail project, the pilot project, is that that's what this is right here. So you've already built a substantial part of both Ring 6 and Ring 5, which are both priority rings. So that's why this was such a strategic investment. The logical thing now is to just continue building out and try to reach some of these areas that don't currently have access. And in the process, start building out the first couple rings of the middle mile network. So the final slide is the proposed task force that we're suggesting to the county. We're proposing that the Economic Alliance would continue to facilitate this process on behalf of the commissioners, and that we bring together experts, either who are dealing with this issue every day or have expertise in it through their professional work. And I think it's just worth going through this, if you'll indulge me, just to name some of the folks, because I think it's a group of people who really can provide great perspective. Dr. Van Dusen, who's the superintendent of Southeastern School District, his IT folks have been really useful in providing some firsthand knowledge of the conditions in the district. Shane Smith, who is the regional contact for MedEd, and MedEd plays a really important role in this, in thinking through aerial fiber connections and access to their poles. Mick Murphy, who's the Vice President and Chief Technology Officer for WellSpan. Phil Witkowski, who's the Director of Telehealth for UPMC, so the two top technology officials for both health networks in the county. Kevin Schreiber with the Economic Alliance, Gary Laird with the Hanover Chamber of Commerce, Jeff Vermeulen at York College, Felicia Dell, Executive Director of the Planning Commission, John Kleinenst, who's also in the room, the county's engineer, Isaac Tucker, who's the Director with Catapult Engineering and has been involved in the project since the beginning and is also a Dillsburg councilman, part of Ring 1 in the northern part of the county, Mark Durr and Joe Sassano, and Chaz Green, the Director of Public Works for the City of York. So we feel like this list represents both rural, urban perspectives, school districts, telehealth, industry, and gives a good cross-section of folks who can help advise the county going forward on how best to implement the recommendations of the assessment. And I'm happy to take any questions you have.
I know I have a couple. Just for clarification, the commissioners actually approved up to $5 million for the project, but I think given that the conduit was in good shape and we didn't have to go digging, we didn't have to use all that funding. So just for a point of reference, to be clear that the board had allocated up to $5 million for the project. I know we talked about it at the last commissioners meeting. Again, we weren't one of the counties that got direct funding from the federal government, so we had to use all of our funding last year, where those other counties in Pennsylvania still have another year to use theirs. So the board approved an an extension up to $20,000 a month for Catapult Engineering to complete work for the pilot project. So I know the paperwork on our side has been signed. Maybe if you could just give an update on what did the expenses look like in January and what did the expenses look like going forward, and maybe timing to complete that
Sure.
part from Kings Mill to Indian Rock Dam.
Right. So as you know, the agreement that you approved earlier indicates, been slowed down from getting access to that portion of the rail line. Mark's been advancing that. In the meantime, we've kept Isaac and Catapult engaged. You approved up to $20,000 a month. It looks like the cost for January will come in under $10,000, roughly $9,000. So half of what, you know, the maximum would have been. And then he projects that being less going forward. So that's a short-term thing. It's to help make sure we have someone in the field to be guiding the work of Henkels and McCoy, the construction contractor. And of course, our current snow situation doesn't help, but as soon as we have that agreement in hand from the county, they're estimating 1 week to install all the handholds, the vaults along that line, and then an additional week to pull the fiber. So you're looking at maybe 2.5 weeks after the agreement's in place, and assuming that snow melts a little bit while that agreement's being signed. So.
The other question I have was around the demand aggregation study. I know there will be some cost to that. Obviously, the county has to be very fiscally responsible. I'm curious if you have a feel for what the appetite might be in our philanthropic community to maybe help fund a project like that.
Yeah, the good thing about the timing for the CARES Act funds and your investment in broadband is that we are also, as you all know, writing our county's economic action plan at the same time. So our next 10-year plan for economic development in the county, we put broadband as one of the priorities in that plan as well. So now not only is it an imperative that the commissioners have identified, it's also now in our comprehensive plan. And I think that really does raise the potential to get some of the funders who have supported that economic action plan and who want to see it implemented and the momentum continued on that, to also support elements of the broadband strategy. So I do think there's good potential that our philanthropies or maybe even just very interested individuals would be willing in investing in that piece of it.
And then the last question that I had was, when will we see a final assessment report?
Right. So we have a draft form that I've shared, and there's still a couple. I would classify them as copy editing type things where we still want them to change a couple words here and there, but we would have a clean version probably by the end of this week, and then you could decide how you'd like to make that, how you'd like to share that, how you'd like to make it public.
Okay, those were the questions I had.
I have one question, and I'm going to show my age now and my lack of understanding of technology and things. But as a commissioner over the years, and being here for now 14 years, there's been a lot of talk about dead service for telephones. We've had some communication with the 911 system, with towers and things like that. And I guess as somebody that is not knowledgeable in this area, when you talk about broadband and the definition of broadband, does the lines and service that will be put in to give access, does it affect more than just computer access to technology? Does it affect phone access where dead areas wouldn't be as dead as they were before, and maybe communications through radio?
By training and an economic development professional by profession. So, but this did come up in the context of 5G, because one of the things we looked at was if the county makes an investment in fiber, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, is there this next wave of technology that comes and you're like, oh, I guess we missed the boat on that. What it comes down to with 5G is that even when our private companies are going out and installing towers for 5G, because of the capacity that they're providing through those towers, they still have backbone or from another provider who's connected into the backbone. So in theory, when you're connecting out towards, southeastern York County, and you now have incredibly high speed fiber in that area, the ability for a cell phone provider to put up a tower, connect into your fiber, and then broadcast really high quality cell service increases substantially. So it wouldn't be the primary goal of this, but it could be a really important secondary outcome of it.
Okay. I just didn't know how like I said, I've had people call me and say I've been in an area of York County and I couldn't get cell phone service. And when we did technology with
That sort of gets this too, because it talks about smart city technology. And for a long time, the whole approach to smart cities was the idea, you just put up a bunch of antennas and you cast wireless across. You are going to have a fiber connection, even if you end up doing a wireless application off of it. It came up even in the conversation yesterday with the coalition looking at security cameras, where, to run a security camera system, you can't rely on wireless anymore. It's just the technology line internet service through this. But the implications of it touch a lot of different things.
Okay, thank you.
As well, so thank you for your time.
So I'd like to make a motion to create and appoint members to the York County Fiber Broadband Task Force effective today, February 3rd, 2021, to advise the county on developing and implementing.
Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Reiterate what we had shared at the last meeting, the CAN that phase. The rate limiting step right now for our healthcare institutions is the ability to get vaccines. So both WellSpan is working on plans with our emergency management team and others in the community on when we move to the phase where we're calling mass vaccination, rolling out to the community at large. To reach out on behalf of WellSpan, they are looking for both clinical and non-clinical volunteer and paid individuals to help with the community vaccination plan. Later today, Mark Walters will be posting a link on our website. If folks have an interest in filling that capacity, you can sign up and register to do so. It's pretty simple. I've already filled it out. Pretty easy question. So, and both WellSpan and UPMC want to thank everyone for their patience. We certainly know there is a high interest in getting vaccinated. But again, right now, the supply is very limited, at least for here in York County. So that's the commissioner's update for vaccines today. And if there's no other business, I'll open it up for public comment. Hearing none, if I could ask for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll move on to salary board.
I make a motion to approve the positions, salaries, hours of work, and fringe benefits as provided by existing collective bargaining agreements or as set forth in York County Employee Handbook or York County Policy Manual for the following departments and row offices with no additional benefits or concessions unless otherwise noted as stated in the internal salary board detail. Department 17, Information Services. Department 23, Conservation District. Department 40, Children, Youth, and Families. And Department 71, EMA. And row offices are Department 51, Sheriff, and Department 54, Clerk of Courts.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
And I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone, for watching, and be safe and stay warm out there.